I'm Nick Fundytus from Royal LePage Performance Realty, and you're watching The Buyer Blueprint. This is a step-by-step guide on how to buy your first home.
Hey, so here we are in step 2 of the Buyer Blueprint. This is the home search phase. You see on your little subway map here on the screen that we've added another line to the subway. That red line right there, and if I click, I think the face will appear. That's me. So that's here in Ottawa, that's me, Nick Fundytus. Or if you're in another city, that's your realtor. So I'm going to talk a little bit about in this phase about what a realtor does and what they bring to the home search. Let me preface this by saying that it is absolutely possible to buy a house without a realtor. That's not what we're trying to describe here. Just in the steps above, I'll point out the difference where it's what the difference is between buying a home with a realtor and without. That's the word we're looking for. Okay, so you can search solo, or you can search with a realtor. Either way, you can see all publicly available homes. So you can see all houses that are listed with realtors, even if you're looking on your own. And if you have a realtor, you can look at all homes, including the for sale by owners, the private sales, the guy who's with Grapevine, or the guy who's just bought a Canadian Tire sign and stuck it in the ground and that says for sale. We can see all of those. There's no difference either way. If you're buying on your own, you might be working with a lot of listing agents. Those are the people who have the houses listed. I'm a listing agent for my clients, but you go out and you call all those other people who are out there, and you see, and you try and negotiate directly with them. With the realtor of your own, with your own buyer realtor, you can see what's called pocket inventory. So if I'm going into a neighborhood, like near my house, there's a neighborhood, Rothwell Heights, and I know that there's about 3 or 4 agents who do most of the sales in that neighborhood, just because that's the way they work. That's where all their business is concentrated. And I have a buyer who can't quite find what they're looking for, but I know that type of house exists in that area. I might phone my colleague Mike, who works up in Rothwell Heights, and I will get on the phone and I say, hey Mike, I've got a buyer who needs to close in August, and we're looking for a particular type of house. Do you know anything like that that's coming up down the pipeline? And he may say, yes, I know a family that is getting their house ready to move. We're not on the market yet, but it'll be up in June. So we might be able to see that house before it ever comes on the market and solve a problem for the buyer, and make a nice smooth sale for the seller as well, making a lot of people happy. If you're working on your own or with a realtor, you can see open houses. There's no difference that way. I actually encourage my buyers to go to open houses when they've got the chance. Most of the time here in Ottawa, they're on Sunday afternoons from 2 to 4. So I've got an open house of my own, and this way they can go kind of get an idea of the amount of interest on other properties that are on the market that they might be interested in. One thing a realtor should be doing for you is I schedule showings for you to make sure that we're using your time efficiently. We can go and see 4, 5, 6, 7 houses in an afternoon on a Saturday, instead of being busy on your Monday night, your Tuesday night, and your Friday night, and kind of wrecking your plans for the week. I can also do what's called previewing homes. Once I get a good idea of what it is you're looking for, so your needs and wants list, if we've communicated that well, then I can go look at homes on my own while you might be at work or unable to see the property. And I can report back to you either by a phone call or an email and let you know why you should or shouldn't, go and see the property with me again afterwards. If the house is not suitable for you, then that way I can just let you know, and that's going to save you some time. It's going to save you at least an hour out of your day to go see a property. There's no additional cost to using a realtor. You can make the argument that if you go directly through a seller's agent that you might save a little bit on commission. That's not generally how it works. Usually a listing contract is signed between the seller and a listing agent for a certain percentage of commission, and then out of that commission, a certain amount is set aside for the buyer realtor. And when you're working with a buyer realtor, you're often not paying that buyer realtor directly. The seller is paying your realtor. So, and it tends to be the same throughout markets. By law, we're not allowed to say what that it's a certain percentage in Ottawa, but it tends to be the same from listing to listing. You can absolutely ask your realtor what any particular house is paying out in commission. to them, so you can see what they're getting paid. And your realtor, by law, and I certainly don't do this, is like we should not be advantaging any property over another based on how much commission they're paying. So that's how commission works. And then your buyer, one of the big advantages of having a buyer realtor is just the loyalty is to the buyer. So when we're negotiating, when we're looking at houses, when I'm writing an offer for you, all these things are done to your best advantage. So in fact, in Ontario, when you write a buyer representation agreement, so when you have a contract with your buyer realtor, it's written so that that you're actually protected by law under the Real Estate Business and Brokers Act, that the brokerage is looking out for your best interests. So it means that we're not allowed to say or do anything as your representative that would disadvantage you in a negotiation. It means that we're not allowed to disclose the price that you will or will not accept, your motivations, except if it's through writing in an offer. Another important thing that I do is I coordinate all important dates and professionals. I make sure that you're not missing any deadlines, that you're not missing any paperwork, anything that would throw a wrench into the purchase of your home. It's a big task, and I want it to go smoothly for you. And I'm trained and full time, and have people here who work for me to make sure that happens. In short, a realtor is supposed to be the expert on your side throughout the home buying process. And then understand what it means to be a client. At least here in Ontario, and I presume probably through most of Canada, there's a difference between what's being a client and a customer. So when I represent my clients, that's that whole thing I was talking about earlier that said we represent your interests first and foremost. A customer is a lesser degree of service. This might be if I'm a listing agent and I have somebody call on one of my signs and they want to have a look at the house. I would explain to them that the seller is my client, I represent their interests, and I can represent that buyer as a customer, which means I have to treat them fairly and honestly under the law, but anything they say or do or tell me, I have to communicate to my seller because I owe my first duty to the seller.
Student gender Verena Bazara, Park 1,
All right,
2, or
let's summarize the home search here. So the realtor's role. So my role here is to find the best suited home for you, the buyers. We do this through process of elimination. And that's what you're doing, searching by elimination. Your lender is not doing a whole lot during this part. They're holding the best rates and terms, and they're keeping you appraised of what's going to be your best rate. They usually give you something called a pre-approval. They might even be doing that in the first step, the preparation. But here, you've already got an idea of what you can afford, and they're making sure to hold that rate for you. So, summarize, just say it's a process of elimination. Use the tools that are given to you to avoid getting overwhelmed. And the tools include the two people that you have with you. That's me or your realtor if you're in a different city, and your lender, whoever that is. And now we move on to offer negotiation, and that's in the next video. But if you have any questions or need any resources for the home search step, just scroll below and you'll get all the links to our resources page. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you at the next one, which is step 3.
Thanks for watching that video. To see the other steps in the series of the Buyer Blueprint, simply go to nickfundytus.ca and look at our resources page.